So Bea and I were talking the other day about giving papers back to students and how we hand them back and students are really only interested in the grade and typically tend to look at it and throw it out.
In the trash, in class, right in front of you.
Exactly. So we were talking about ways that we might be able to make feedback seem more like feedback rather than criticism, because we don't want our students to feel criticized, but we do want them to understand what kinds of things we're trying to get across to them. So we've basically come up with 3 strategies that we enjoy using. And the first one is the color pen.
I use a green pen. I can remember being in college and getting feedback from my teachers, and they were bleeding all over the page. And initially when I looked at it, I thought it was all bad comments, but it was actually really good comments written in red. But I did not perceive it that way. So when I started teaching, I purchased some green markers and ended up going with a green roller ball, which is what I prefer now, and it's my tool of choice with grading.
And I use purple. Most of the research that talks about the effects of a different color pen recommend either green or purple. I also use a teal. So whatever color you like, anything but red, because red does remind them of blood.
Right.
And nobody wants a paper that's been bled
they've been
over.
punched. Or a pencil. Sometimes I'll use a pencil too, and that allows me to erase things if I need to erase things. Another strategy that I employ came from my experience as a student when I was in college. I was taking a class and we were able to submit rough drafts. I got my rough draft back, and there in the upper left-hand corner, and I will never forget this, was a bright BS stamp. And it wasn't like what we think that means. What the teacher was telling me is that I was not specific. So from that point on, the BS was being specific. And I have never forgotten that, and that was many, many years ago. And from that point on, we switched over to what our irritation is, which is
follow directions. Our students are notorious for not following the directions. And years ago, Bea purchased a gift for me, my own little follow directions stamp, which I love.
In purple.
In purple.
Mine is in green to match our markers.
And again, remember that this has to be a calm color, not a red color. And it also has to match your personality.
Right. You don't want to be stamping everything and it being mean-spirited. The one thing that we are really try to be good about with our students is it's fun.
Yes.
And a lot of our students, when I ask them if they come to see me, I'll say, and what kind of grade did you get? And they'll say, I got the follow directions stamp.
Sure. And, it is kind of a setup. Like, make sure that you follow the directions and don't get the follow directions stamp.
And one of the reasons why I emphasize following directions is really those are giveaway points that students should not be missing. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, they have a big factor in determining their grade.
Right.
So often a C speech might work down to a D speech or a B speech, a whole letter grade for something as simple as not following directions.
Right. And that would be any project, so even if your discipline isn't speech, it might be any kind of a project for not turning in the required items or whatever.
It's a life skill, and it's fun, and we try to have fun with it.
Yes, exactly. So in addition to choosing your colors carefully and possibly integrating the use of stamps, we also have colleagues who use stickers. And while that sounds very juvenile, they get a lot of mileage out of it. And I've actually had people who have said, can I get a gold star for this? And I need to go get my box of gold stars and be able to put them on, because for many students, depending on the type of college students, what your demographic is, a little sticker, a gold star, something like that can be very motivating.
Yeah, and you can get stickers anywhere, and they can be real basic or they can be more elaborate. But I find students do respond to it, particular students. I don't find students who get angry it's either they don't care or they're happy.
Right.
So in that case, it's not harming. It's something that can be kind of fun. But again, that is your personality.
So if you want to invite your students to read the feedback and not perceive it as criticism, these 3 strategies may be helpful to you.
All you need to do is choose a color pen or marker that is not bleeding. So in other words, something that is not red. Secondly, purchase a stamp and make it fun with getting particular feedback. And third, use stickers.